Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. Israel's Jerusalem Post leads today reporting that the 6,000 staffers of the Hadassah medical organisation's 2 Jerusalem hospitals, who have been on a reduced Shabbat schedule for a week after being threatened by permanent wage cuts, reduced benefits and monthly paychecks paid in 2 instalments, have received a gush of moral support. It also reports that Prime Minister Netanyahu convened a meeting of senior ministers this weekend to discuss ways to fight back against BDS efforts against Israel. The UAE's Gulf News leads reporting that high-profile UAE and international delegates are to meet at the 2nd annual government summit starting today to explore the futures of state-run services. The paper also reports that a top UN official has called for ceasefire in Syria and that prominent leftist politician Hamdin Sabahi is joining the race for the Egyptian presidency. From Lebanon, the Daily Star reports that Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that Iran's ballistic missile program will not be discussed in nuclear negotiations with world powers. It also reports on mediator Lakhdar Brahimi saying that Geneva talks aimed at ending the Syrian war will tackle the key issues of stopping violence, setting up a transitional governing body, and plans for national institutions and reconciliation. Iran's Tehran Times leads its front page reporting that after 2 days of constructive technical talks, Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency have agreed on 7 new practical measures to be implemented by Iran by May the 15th. The paper also reports that the Israeli regime has rejected a proposal by the Palestinian Authority to place a NATO force in the Jordan Valley. Now let's take a look at the top headlines from the UK papers. The Guardian leads today reporting that parents are to be given a new power to call in a specialist team to boost the performance of failing schools or teachers under a set of wide-ranging public service reform plans by Labour's Ed Miliband. The paper also reports that a campaign led by a 17-year-old student which called for a new way to combat the brutal practice of female genital mutilation has gathered more than 150,000 signatures since it was launched last Wednesday and features a picture of Jenny Jones, who won a bronze medal at the snowboard slopestyle at Sochi. The Independent today reports that the Shadow Education Secretary Tristram Hunt has said that children should be taught attentiveness skills to help combat the influence of social media. In an exclusive interview with the paper, he said that children need to learn the ability to concentrate for sustained periods, especially in today's world of short attention spans. The Times front page leads reporting that the border between Syria and Turkey is now perceived by the world's leading spy agencies to be a lethal crucible of terror from which the next deadly attack on the West is likely to spring. The paper also says that towns and villages along the Thames are bracing for the worst flooding in more than a decade, with communities in Surrey and Berkshire being warned that lives are at risk from an expected surge in river levels. It also features a picture of British Olympian Jenny Jones, who won a bronze medal at Sochi. The Daily Telegraph leads its front page today reporting that Britain's winter storm crisis has deepened as thousands more householders were warned their lives could be at risk from flooding. The paper also reports that smoking in a car carrying children will become illegal as MPs vote on a ban that some cabinet ministers believe is impossible to enforce. Now let's take a look at the top stories in international papers. Russia's Moscow Times leads reporting on the Sochi Winter Olympics, saying that sports largely overshadowed politics the first weekend of the Games, with Sunday's most talked about protests centering on swaying skiers rather than human rights or corruption scandals. The paper also says 41 people have been detained at protests for Dojd TV. The international New York Times reports that a narrow majority of Swiss voters have backed proposals to reintroduce restrictions on immigration, reflecting populist concerns about the economic and social costs of increasingly open borders. The paper also reports on results from the weekend games of the Sochi Olympics and on Nigeria's new legislation which criminalises homosexuality, causing waves of violence throughout the country. And finally, China Daily reports on Chinese President Xi Jinping saying that Beijing's relationship with Moscow will maintain its momentum, and his trip to Russia marks a good start to diplomatic relations between the two countries in the new year. The paper also reports that top social insurance experts are urging that China should gradually increase the retirement age to 65 over the next 10 to 20 years for all workers, from the current average of 53, as life expectancy in the country is 75. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Please join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.